Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from an upcoming event, an upcoming social distance event called the Amana Chautauqua. And unlike most of the events that we've been talking about over the last few months, this is not an online event. It's actually an in-person, but socially distanced event. Deb Kennedy, Anthony Hendricks, and Rob Merritt are with me today. Welcome. Thanks you all for joining me.
Good morning.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Dennis.
Deb, why don't you start off by telling us what was the genesis of the event and how the idea came up and how you recruited your cast and put it together?
To be honest, it was actually the murder of George Floyd that prompted Tom to think that this might be a current and socially relevant production to present. He had done this show originally in 2002. It originated, first production was with at Schoit-Herman Place in Des Moines. And it is the voice of two different soldiers. It takes place Civil War times, and it focuses on Milligan's Bend, which was Louisiana. Now, what makes Milligan's Bend that war historical and unique is it's right after the Emancipation Proclamation. So it is the first time these newly freed slaves, Black soldiers, marched alongside the 23rd Infantry soldier of Iowa Infantry for this battle for the Union. So I think historically it's very interesting, but also the history of the play itself is very unique. It is written by two different voices. The play is told by two different voices. It is a Black soldier and a Irish immigrant white soldier. The two don't know each other, but they are fighting alongside each other. They do not address each other, but essentially they are telling the same story. Greg Allen Williams, who is a Des Moines native and award-winning actor, wrote the voice of the Black soldier, and Cynthia Mercati wrote the voice of the white soldier. So I think that history about this play in itself is also very interesting.
And there you have a cast of three or two?
The cast for the play reading of Milligan's Bend is two, so it's the two soldiers, but then we are also having some Civil War poetry read by Quandasi Hood and also from Meg Merkins, and it's Civil War poetry.
Anthony and Rob portray the two soldiers. Anthony, let's start with you. I am meeting you for the first time over Zoom, and you haven't been on the show before. So tell me a little bit of the Anthony Hendricks story.
Well, the Anthony Hendricks story is currently, I have been a divorced single dad for many years now. I'm in my 15th year of being a single dad, and they had an opportunity to go away for a while, and I was able to leave my original location, which is Peoria, Illinois. After that, I went back and finished my degree in theater. And immediately following that, in May of 2019, I moved to Iowa City. And I have been elated to be a part of the theater community, and I was able to do some shows here. ICCT, I was able to do Pippin and Company, and at City Circle, I was able to do Evita just this past February, and I just did recently a virtual cabaret with TCR, Theater Cedar Rapids. So I'm just kind of making my way around the corridor, or the Krandic. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to use yet. So, yeah, I think that's the Anthony Hendricks story in a nutshell.
Tell me a little bit about the character that you portray in Milligan's Bend.
The character in Milligan's Bend that I am is Johnson. His name is Johnson. The best way for me to describe Johnson is if you're familiar with Glory, the movie Glory, the Morgan Freeman character is probably the closest resemblance that I could find to correlate Johnson to something that you might be able to recognize. And basically, he's just formerly from a slave background, and at the time, once you join the military during the Civil War times, they were considered a free man. So a lot of the Black soldiers would embrace that opportunity to not only serve, but to become free. And so there's so many different things that came from that experience. And that's what's all comprised into Johnson's character. It just kind of meshes with the world around him. And to the best of his ability and the best of his understanding, he tries to navigate that. So that's the best I can explain Johnson.
Rob Merritt, you've been keeping busy, not performing quite so much, although you have produced some videos, and I know that you've been working a lot since the big storm with drone footage and producing up little stories to tell the story of what's been happening in the corridor out into the larger world through social media. But for this role, this is probably one of your first opportunities to get back on stage in a fairly traditional fashion. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really appealed to me about it. That, and I've always had a huge respect for Tom and for Deb. I've known Deb for many years. We worked together in summer stock back in the day, and I worked with Tom at Old Creamery over a decade ago in Christmas Carol. And so I've always wanted the chance to work with them again. This was a great opportunity to do it. On top of that, Tom and I are both Civil War nerds, and we're constantly trading weird trivia back and forth. I've been working on my own script for years now about a Civil War figure, so it's something that's always really interested me. And so when this script came along, I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's fascinating. And so, yeah, there's just a number of reasons why I was really excited to be on board. That and the fact that, hey, getting to perform again live, which is something that is almost impossible to find opportunities to do right now, was really exciting.
Tell me about your character you play in the play.
Yeah, he's an Irish immigrant. He has been in America for a while, and he still remembers how the Irish were treated before he came over, and so he has a love for America and a love for he has a love for the country, and a strong belief in why it's important that he needs to fight in this war. And as he's writing these letters to his wife, he's talking about working with Black soldiers for the first time, and initially the misconceptions, misunderstandings, the distrust that exists there. But as the war goes on, realizing that they're all on the same side, they're fighting the same battles, even though they come from completely different backgrounds. And in fact, actually, there's a lot of parallels in their backgrounds. And so it's a really interesting journey watching these two characters, both growing as this war goes on, and kind of and their paths coming closer and closer together as the show goes along.
You mentioned earlier, Deb, that the narrative format is the two characters never actually interact. Rob, you just said that the format is letters home. Is that the same for your character, Anthony?
Yeah, he's writing to his wife, and yet it's interesting how a lot of times, he's writing kind of in the past tense. We did this, we saw this, but there's parts in the play where all of a sudden he kind of goes into this present tense where he's describing things as he sees them. And so it's still very much a narrative, but it becomes much more immediate. And there's places where what he's describing and what the other soldier are describing overlap. They're basically talking about the same things from their own perspective. And it's really cool how the play kind of interweaves those so that you are realizing that these two are at the same event. They're not interacting, or maybe they see each other from a distance and don't even know that each other are there, but they're clearly talking about the same thing. They're clearly experiencing the same thing through different eyes.
Anthony, is that the format for your character as well, writing letters home?
No, actually, for Johnson, he's more talking directly to the audience and kind of telling the story from his perspective, and just kind of saying, this is who I am. And I think that that's one of the great things about Milligan's Bend. It gives an opportunity to share the Black experience with an audience that may not be quite as familiar. I'm not sure when it was written and what the audience looked like there, but I think that it was selected by Tom and felt that it was imperative that we share this information in Amana and in the Iowa area, our Iowa City area, because it's a story that it's once again, as Deb was stating, it's just relevant currently. And it would help to give some insight into the mind of a Black man's character, not only one who is experiencing the Civil War experience, but into the mind of an African-American experience as a whole, and to connect how, though we may be different, we are definitely unified in one experience. We're all living this life together. So
we would like to think that the experience of a newly freed slave in the Civil War would be greatly different than that of an African-American man today. But I'm going to go out on a limb and bet that there are many things that you read in the character and actions of Johnson that really resonated with your own life. Yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am a strong advocate for, number one, for America. I love my country, and believe that we have made some great advances. I believe that there is a much greater understanding and a much greater relationship in certain aspects, but there are so many correlations that an African American could look at Johnson's experience, or the slaves who were becoming newly freed into the military. They can look and say that still is relevant now, and it can be disheartening, but I think one of the things that this story does do is give hope, and that's the I believe the intent of the story. It's not to just shed light on a terrible time in our history, but it's also to say there's hope. We can grow. We can build.
Talking with the cast of the Amana Chautauqua, a reading of Milligan's Bend, and some other activities as well coming up on the 6th of September. Deb Kennedy, you're promoting this as a socially distanced show, as I said at the top of the interview. Unlike most of the things that we are doing these days, it's not an online experience, it's an in-person experience. So tell me how you're going to make that safe and appropriate for our times.
Well, number one, the performance venue is at the Market Barn in Amana. Originally, it was going to be in the pavilion at the community park in Middle Amana, but that took a beating from the derecho. So we have relocated to Amana. So the fact that it is outdoors makes it safer. We are encouraging people to bring their lawn chairs, but also bring their masks. Because we want to make sure that, I know everyone wants to get out, but I also want to make sure that everyone is safe. And that is very important to us because we do see the everyday challenges that this pandemic is bringing and hardships that this pandemic is bringing. So safety is priority to us. We are going to start the evening. We're going to go get some pies from the Ox Yoke and just make pie available. So you can come in and start your day with pie from the Ox Yoke. We're going to have a performance, half-hour performance from the River Bottom Ramblers, a bluegrass group local here. So we're going to have a little bit of music. You can eat your pie, have some music, and then we'll start with the play readings. We have Meg Merkins, and she will be reading From Year to Year, the Contest Grew. And then Quanda C. Hood will be reading at the end, The Colored Soldiers. And then afterwards, we're going to be inviting a talk back. Now, what is interesting as well is Quanda C. Hood is involved with a new program. We met her through Clear Creek Amana School District, and they have started a new program this year called Better Way Forward. And essentially their mission is to help develop policies, procedures, protections, which serve all people equitably. And their vision is striving to see each other, hear each other, talk to each other, build pathways that all people can confidently travel together. So I love that she has accepted to join us in this project. We're going to have a talk back after the show. We're going to introduce the all performers and speakers, and hopefully Quanda will talk about her program because it is an all-school district and community program that has been started this year, very new program. But yeah, get out of your house, enjoy some music, enjoy some history, meet the people, have a conversation, talk to each other with love.
The event is the Amana Chautauqua on September 6th. It's free, but bring money for pie. It's Chautauqua and pie, with a reading of Milligan's band and poetry and a performance from the River Bottom Ramblers as well. Things start up at 6 o'clock, right, Deb?
That's correct.
Okay, and if people want more information, is there a place online or a Facebook page or anything that people can go to?
You know, I created an event and we have shared it on several group pages, but there's not necessarily a Chautauqua page. So that's why we're just encouraging all our friends to share and help spread the word.
All right, well, good luck with the event coming up September 6th, the Amana Chautauqua at the Amana Market Barn in Amana. Rob Merritt, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks so much for having us, Dennis.
Anthony Hendricks, nice to meet you online, and thanks for being with me as well.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Deb Kennedy, along with her husband, Tom Milligan, is the production staff and organizer of this event. Thanks for putting on a very timely and live and in-person show, which is really, really attractive, I think, to everybody at this time.
Yes, thanks, Dennis.
Again, the Amana Chautauqua, September 6th at the Amana Market Barn, and you can find information on that probably on your favorite social media channel. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or using your favorite podcast app. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.